Hello everyone, welcome to the beginning of another month. We've got so much going on in this month of September, specifically the two eclipses that we have taking place on September 13th and on September 27th. I will touch upon those in a moment. Eclipses are power points during the course of a year. Eclipse will surge energy. Eclipse will bring about many changes. It's a time of significant endings and times of significant new beginnings. And really how the energies of an eclipse will manifest and demonstrate themselves, it's really dependent upon the energy that we have set in motion up until the time of the eclipse. It's just like anything else astrologically or otherwise. Whatever it is that we set in motion, whatever energy that we put out to the universe is exactly what's going to come back to us. The beginning of this month on September 6th, I've mentioned that Venus, the planet of beauty, has been retrograde since July 25th. On September 6th, Venus will move direct in its orbit. We've noticed in the last few weeks, economically, things have seemed very tumultuous and very uncertain, as they always can be. And that really contributes to the Venus retrograde factor. It's really a time to regenerate financially, although it may not seem as such out in the outside world. However, because we look at things spiritually and metaphysically, we look to see beyond the physical knowing, the physical understanding of our physical world that is very much connected in matter and sometimes material possessions, which Venus does rule material possessions. The Venus retrograde, it was a time to really reflect upon our relationships. It's a time to reflect upon our desires, what it is that we really choose to experience for ourselves. What is it that we value the most? Where do we place our values, or perhaps where do we misplace our values? And to use this time to reevaluate all of those great things that are ruled by Venus. It also can be a time to reconnect with the beauty that's within ourselves, and many times we forget to do that. We forget to reconnect with the beauty that's inside every one of us. Venus will go retrograde about every 2 years, so the next Venus retrograde will probably be about 2017. I don't know the date offhand. However, we will deal with this phase that we are at hand. As I said, September 6th, Venus will move direct in its orbit. The next significant astrological influence is on September 13th, we have a solar eclipse. A solar eclipse is a new moon. A new moon is a new beginning. As I mentioned earlier, eclipse will signify significant new beginnings and as well as endings. So the eclipse on September 13th, the solar eclipse on September 13th, it's in the sign of Virgo. Virgo primarily deals with our well-being, and that's one of those things that we certainly many times forget to give attention to, our well-being. Virgo is ruled by the planet Mercury, the planet of the mind. Many times when we allow our thoughts to race, to carry on excessively, it does have a negative interference upon our well-being. We could use this time to really reflect upon what it is that we are setting in motion for ourselves that will contribute to the betterment of our well-being. The time before the eclipse, as is the time before a new moon, the few days before the new moon, it's the dark moon. It's a time to cleanse, clear, purge, to end, to clear out what no longer serves a purpose for us, so that when the new moon energies come together, we embark upon the journey with a clean slate. So before the new moon on the 13th, let's perhaps reflect upon what it is that we are doing for ourselves that contribute to the betterment of our well-being, or what maybe we need to eliminate. Use the time to reflect upon that. Also, Virgo is our service to humanity. Those are the two elements that I would like to highlight the most regarding the September 13th solar eclipse. is the understanding of our personal well-being, which actually I talk about in chapter 6 of my book, The Planets Align So Rare. Put a little plug there. But also, too, Virgo connects with our service to humanity, whatever that might be. Everything that we do, everything that we are being, rather, because it's really not about the doing, it's more about the being when we address these matters spiritually. What is it that we are being that can really contribute to the betterment of humanity, that can raise the vibration of humanity? Because certainly when we do it for humanity, we are absolutely doing it for ourselves. I would suggest to use this time to really set in motion, once the energies of the eclipse have taken hold on September 13th, set in motion what it is that you would choose to be your service to humanity in whatever form that might take, because there's really no wrong or right. It's dependent upon the intention that really makes a difference as to whether or not it's going to be something of a high vibration or perhaps of a low vibration. Be very aware of everything that you are setting in motion 24 hours prior to the eclipse, as well as the 24 hours after the eclipse. Whatever is being set in motion at that time has the potential to remain in effect, in influence for long periods of time. I always suggest in that 3-day period, don't pay any bills. Be aware to put money into your bank account. Again, be very aware of what it is that you would choose to experience for a long period of time. If you're seeking employment, send out resumes. If you are looking to begin a new regiment of well-being, begin on the solar eclipse, especially in the sign of Virgo that deals and connects with our well-being. September 17th is actually going to be a very active day with astrological energies that are going to be presented at that time. The planets Jupiter and Neptune will form an opposition on that day. An opposition, it's a full moon. When two heavenly bodies are at opposite ends of the spectrum, it's a full moon. That's exactly what happens at the time of the full moon. The sun and the moon are at opposite ends of the spectrum. On September 13th, we have Jupiter and Neptune at opposite ends of the spectrum. In and of itself, it's not necessarily a really good time to embark upon anything financially, any long-term financial matters, because we need to be very clear and very aware that what could be presented to us at that time are get-rich-quick schemes. Be very careful of anything like that during that time, around the September 17th time period. Again, as I've mentioned before, all astrological influences and alignments are very specific to our charts. Personally, I'm just giving you an overall something to think about, if you will, during this time. What is very beneficial of that opposition is recognizing our own psychic sense, our psychic connections with the spirit realm and everything else as well. Certainly at that time, in those times, there may be, or rather there will be, a very heightened psychic sensitivity. The psychic energy in those days can certainly be very much off the charts, and those of us who are very sensitive to these higher vibrational experiences may feel very inundated with the energy that's out there. So we just have to be that much more aware to keep ourselves grounded. As I've said many times before, whenever we see the potential of something negative, with awareness, we can always offset the negativity so that it does serve a greater purpose for us as well. On September 17th, we have also Mercury going retrograde. Everybody seems to want to run and hide during Mercury retrograde. However, those times do serve a purpose. With the Mercury retrograde, I always suggest remembering the RE words. Remember, review, reflect, regenerate, recreate. Those are all the tasks that we can set in motion to use the Mercury retrograde in very beneficial ways. Just beware that there could be excessive traffic jams, travel delays. If you're traveling during a Mercury retrograde, just give yourself a little bit extra time to get to where it is that you need to go. Be also aware that there could be difficulties with communications, because with the Mercury retrograde, we want to go within. We don't necessarily want to communicate externally. It serves us well to communicate with spirit from within. It's a time to meditate, go within, quiet all those excessive thoughts that sometimes seem to run our lives. The meditation allows us to direct those thoughts in a very creative and productive way. Embarking upon meditation, incorporating meditation in your daily routine is something certainly very beneficial to bring into your experience during the Mercury retrograde period. Mercury retrograde will be in effect until October 9th, and its influences certainly do remain in effect a little bit after that until October 24th. And that is the period, actually that is the point where Mercury went direct in the heavens. Also on September 17th, Saturn moves full force into the sign of Sagittarius. Saturn will last about 2 years in each specific sign, and it'll take about 28 years to complete one cycle of the tropical zodiac. We are right now, Saturn is in the last few degrees of the sign Scorpio. Scorpio is a sign right before Sagittarius. You know, Scorpio is the sign that is most associated with fear. In these last few weeks, there has been once again such a surge of fear in the physical world. And spiritually and metaphysically, what this is doing for us, it's giving us the opportunity to release any deep-seated fears so that we can begin our next cycle of experience. The last few degrees of a sign, specifically the 28, 29 degree point, is considered the critical degree. That's when things are about to end so that we can embark upon a new beginning. So in these last few degrees of the sign of Scorpio that is most associated with fear, we are being given the opportunity to release any deep-seated fear that may still exist within us. You know, the sign of Scorpio, because it is ruled by Pluto, it's also the sign of empowerment. And certainly fear disempowers us. And when we give ourselves the courage to recognize any fear that may exist within ourselves, we are given the opportunity to release that so that we can empower ourselves. As Saturn begins its passage into the sign of Sagittarius, we are given the opportunity to strengthen our connection with the higher mind. Sagittarius is the sign of the higher mind. It's the sign of the philosopher, the great thinker. It's the sign of the inspirationalist. It's also the sign of the teacher. In order for us to really have a clear connection with that higher mind is why we're given the opportunity to release the fear. You see how everything just leads from one experience to the next. And it's really, when we look at these experiences astrologically, they're very much evolutionary. One certainly does lead to the next, and it's really dependent upon our choices as well as our free will, because spirit will never interfere with our free will. And speaking of the planets of disempowerment and empowerment, I will add, Pluto has been retrograde since April. On September 25th, Pluto will move direct in its orbit. You know, unfortunately, many times when Pluto does go direct, I was taught many years ago that when Pluto is retrograde, it's typically a time when the underworld, because Pluto deals with the underworld is in its planning stages. And unfortunately, when Pluto goes direct, and during the times when Pluto goes direct, is when we could see much more upheavals and unpleasantries out in the physical world. And I will always emphasize that we are always given the opportunity to offset any negativity that can manifest itself in the physical world. As all things, because whatever manifests in the physical world, whatever manifests in matter, really comes from the collective unconsciousness of humanity. Every one of us contributes to the unpleasantries that can or will not take place in the physical world. That's why I'm always encouraging every one of us to really stay in the light, stay in a place of love, love one another, generate love. Because collectively, that's how we regenerate and raise the vibration in the outside world. I'm encouraging everyone in your meditations, really, in this time and always, see the earth surrounded by the pink light of love. That is a very healing, high vibrational energy. And certainly when we heal the earth, we heal ourselves. When we heal ourselves, we heal the earth. Lastly, I'd like to highlight on September 27th, we have a total lunar eclipse. We're actually going to be able to see this eclipse here in the United States. The eclipse takes place at 10:50 p.m. That's when it's exact. And I believe it's about, I guess, an hour or so before that when the moon begins to progress into the shadow of the Earth. I believe it's on NASA's website. They have some specifics, as well as there's a few other sites out there that will give you the exact times of when the moon will be total. Excuse me, the eclipse will be total. The full moon, the lunar eclipse, it's also a supermoon. A supermoon is when we have either a full moon or a new moon, and the moon is located at its closest approach to the Earth. The moon orbits the Earth in an elliptical pattern, just like the Earth orbits the Sun in an elliptical pattern. When a lunation, either a full or new moon, is closest to the Earth at that lunation, it's considered a super moon. And that certainly does increase seismic energy in the Earth. We can feel a sense of unsettlement because the energy will be surged. It's not only a full moon, it's a super moon. So just think about everything that happens during the time of a full moon. The energy just surges, and many times it does certainly go off the charts. And as I've always said, we need not be the victim of any negative influence that takes place in the outside world, when we can recognize to keep ourselves very, very peaceful and very, very grounded. You know, the full moon lunar eclipse, it's in the sign of Aries. Again, wherever these lunations fall specifically in your chart will be where you can notice the changes and the influences being felt. Aries, it's the sign of the initiator. It's also the sign of the entrepreneur. Many of us who are very entrepreneurial will feel the push forward in our endeavors. We also will be given much clarity with what it is that we need to move forward on these with these endeavors. Again, it's all dependent upon the energy we have set in motion up until that point as to how it's really going to manifest for ourselves personally. I'm just highlighting a few things for you to, again, to just reflect upon and to be aware of for yourself. I will be coming back to the mystical moon in November. I will be there from November 17th to December 1st. I will be at both locations in the Fort Myers store, as well as the beautiful new Bonita Beach store. You can connect with the girls at the store. Nicole, she'll be more than happy to let you know my availability and my schedule, and I very much look forward to seeing everyone. I will see you again at the beginning of next month, where I will be highlighting whatever we potentially will be experiencing during the course of October. So, until then, stay in the light and always in a place of love. Many blessings. Namaste.